I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. We will now open for public hearing. Do we have anyone? Fantastic. I declare we close public hearing. Moving on to Land Bank Manager update.
No, now you
Wait,
have to vote
hold
on
on.
the,
Sorry, am I getting ahead of myself?
you need to vote on the budget now.
Vote on the budget.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the budget has been submitted for final review in our packet.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I can now, correct, declare to close public
You
hearing.
have some papers you all of you have to sign.
Do we want to do that now, or is it,
It's
we do it
up
after?
to you. You can start the process. I
Sure,
can-
start it
There's
on
3
this end,
copies.
we'll run her down.
Fantastic.
They just need to sign on these lines right here?
Yep.
Anytime. Awesome, thank you.
One on each.
All right. As we collect signatures, Land Bank Manager update.
Oh, can we go to the real estate? Or wait. Okay, I guess I misread the agenda. No, we can do it this way. So you have the additional slides, where's my copy? It's the one with the lot, and then the tax sheet behind it. It's just 2 pieces of paper. It has been brought to my attention that the lot at 611 8th Street is a nuisance property. There was, in 2022, I believe, a fire, or before that, there was a fire and a house was removed. There's a lien, I believe, with the city because we paid to demo the house, and that's reflected on your tax sheet behind that, and they're delinquent in their taxes, so they're behind. So this was brought to my attention by Jerry, our nuisance code enforcement officer. I've talked to him, and he's looking at properties that could possibly or potentially be pulled into the land bank, and I think this is a good candidate. So with your kind of nod of approval, I'm going to reach out to this property owner and see where they're at, if they just want to roll that over. Then the second question might be whether we go to the city commission to possibly alleviate any demolition liens that are on there. That's all in the due diligence side of this, where we start to.
Which lot is that?
I'm sorry, it's the one, yeah, I printed it out real quick. So it's the 666, it's the one with the recessed. It's the one right there. Yes, sir. This one, that's great TV. And that one. It's the one, I don't know if the structure's still back there, but I do know the house has been removed. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I believe, that's the one I think we discussed.
Yeah, we
at one
had,
point.
right.
Yeah.
Does that work out for Habitat?
That's a perfect one.
Okay, because I know, and just to kind of follow up here, also on the report, Habitat had reached out about our 324 East 11th property that we have in the bank, but I'll let you say whether it meets your standards or not.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to build on that one. But this one is one that we've had our eye on for a while, and we would love to have this property and put a home on it for the 2025 build.
Okay. All right. Well, I haven't turned this over to legal for them to run their due diligence side of the house, so after this meeting, I'll get that teed up and over to Chris for his team to review, and then I'll come back to you. And we'll probably reach out to the property owner as well, so in the meantime. And
Yeah, the father's deceased, the
Yep.
son's unwilling to take it into his name because of the liens, so
And isn't
we
there-
kind of
There's 2 banks on it, right?
Yeah, but I'd have to look that one back up,
thought
but yeah,
there
there's a
was.
lien to it, at least one.
Okay. All right.
Is this an out-of-town owner now that's technically in control of it?
Yeah, I believe it's on that sheet. He's out of Mays.
And I've spoken with him, and he is willing to sign off whatever, just to let it go away as long as he doesn't absorb any liability.
Gotcha.
from it.
So basically wash the tax bill and the liens from the demo, and,
Yep.
and he would
Yep.
be willing to deed it over. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
This is my inexperience. If we have a business or nonprofit who's interested in that property, why is the land bank getting involved?
Because unless it comes through the land bank, nothing can remove the bank liens and the forgiveness of the $7,000 demo and any back taxes. So it's got to come through here.
The back tax, so this is not on a tax sale?
It's not
This
on the
would be
tax
a
sale. This is
direct-
before the tax sale, right. So
Okay.
we're we're capturing this before it goes to tax sale.
Okay.
So then we would have the ability, the land bank could then alleviate the tax side of the house.
Tax side, got that, but how does
But-
the
but,
bank, how does
yeah.
the bank, because the lien is directly with the individual, and so how can a land bank remove a bank lien?
Well, the lien is for the demo of the actual property. So the city commission voted to,
But you also
Pay
said there was
for
a bank.
Bank lien.
Bank.
It's not a morttage lien.
it's not
Yeah.
a mortgage.
Oh.
lien,
It's not
I
a
think.
mortgage lien.
That's what I
Okay.
got. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
I-
there's a mortgage lien on it
Gotcha.
as well.
I'll clear that
It's
up.
not like
Talking about now.
a
But she's talking
Emprise
about a
Bank
It's not
has a
mortgage.
lien on the
I don't
property.
think it's a
Okay.
No,
traditional
I
mortgage.
think it's Bank of America, and yeah, there is a lien on it, but
Oh.
unfortunately, the property, with the house being burned out and then taken
That's
away,
it.
it's worth nothing. So, if we go to the bank and,
And coming from the land bank, we approach the bank and
Got
say,
it.
hey.
So there's several steps to take.
Right.
Got it.
But
Yes.
we're the vessel,
Got it.
if that makes
Thank you.
sense.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for explaining that.
Yes. Okay, well, I think I've been given my marching orders then, and I'll update you all at our next meeting then on that, see where we're at.
Which you basically.
Good job, Zach. Find us more of those.
I'm trying, they're there, just gotta, now that we're in business of acquiring, or of banking property. We'll move on to,
All right, so, did I skip one? Do I need to go back?
nope, you just keep going on. We can go on to the real estate acquisition policy now.
All right, let's do that.
You do have a real estate acquisition policy that did have some highlights. Those were comments that I can kind of clean up with legal. I have provided you with a clean draft copy to kind of work from today. There were, yeah, I think this is the best way to go. So our mission statement, we cleaned that up a little bit. We took out the and/or and just put and tax foreclosed properties. We've numbered the goals. If we're going in through policies, which is number 1. Sorry. So on the goals, I had a note here to add industrial and commercial properties to our goals. That would be goal number 2. Sorry, going back up to goal number 2. We've added the language about industrial and commercial properties because that's what you all had said you wanted to see in the policy at our last meeting. And then now going back down to the policies. The question from legal was on, under policies, item C. Does this fit, the comment is, does this align with the goals? And it does read, the creation of expansion or green or community open space or other community support services. Kind of our goals and our direction are to not necessarily create more green space, but to roll properties back into the tax reels. And so we can strike that if you all agree that policies C does not align with our goals. So I'll let you read that and process that.
Zach, the one thing on that I think we were talking about is, because we were looking at one property at one point that the bulk of the property was in a flood zone, and we all agreed that it would be cost prohibitive to put a house in there or raise the lot. I do like leaving that, or some way of putting that in so that if there's absolutely nothing that we can do with it, it'd be nice to roll it to green space if it benefited the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I kind of like the line.
I read something several months ago about, it was probably Pittsburgh, because you had given me information about Pittsburgh, and they had received properties that they couldn't do a whole lot with, but they took a vested interest in them, cleaned them up, so that Pittsburgh looked nicer. And they created green spaces and they created pocket parks. Something popular, I think, maybe in southeast Kansas, where maybe you put something on there, or you had a meeting space, which I know is not the main goal, but it allowed them to clean up the property and keep it. I just wanted to share that. I thought it was a neat idea.
Yeah, and I think that's just a legal comment, making sure that everything aligns. I'm comfortable with leaving it in there to capture that, and so, but again, it's y'all's call if you want to leave it, strike it, what do you want to do?
And I think we leave it because
Okay.
I think, didn't Wichita just recently do the same thing on about 2 lots, and the neighborhood didn't have a park, and the neighbors came in and said, let's
Yes.
change it to a park?
Yes,
And I think that's a good idea. You may find in some of our older established parks, you got a half a lot that comes open. You're not going to sell a half a lot.
right,
I think you leave it.
okay,
I agree.
perfect.
They might need new parks because they're
Yeah.
thinking about selling them.
And then, all right, so the comments then, moving forward. Go to the second page on or back page. I think it was the idea, or I'm sorry, we can stay on that first page, because here was the way it was drafted, between G and H, we had additionally, the land bank will consider. Can we strike that language? Because there's really no reason to differentiate between A through G and H through L. And that's on that first page down at the bottom.
That's just striking the
Just
additionally. the land
striking
bank.
that, yeah, just striking that language and just grouping them, that's how it got drafted, so.
Yep.
All right, now moving on to the back, the second page on the back here. Just did some kind of cleanup items, and then going under 2 types of acquisition. Legal kind of asked if it was, if A, the first one, A, 2A was under conflict, and I don't believe it is, and I think Danielle is going to explore with county how we should best go about dealing with the tax sales. So if there's property like left over on a tax, there might not be, the way it's looking, there might not be any properties this next tax sale in November. But if there are, let the land bank have the freedom or the idea that we could pitch in and put a bid in, or it just rolls over to the land bank, because one, we'll look to rehab it and then turn it back over into private development. And I think that's a win-win for the county, because then that gets it off of their books and then it rolls it onto ours. So, like I said, I'm having Daniela reach out to Anthony and kind of discuss what the best method for that is.
And that's happened before, so what they do if they don't sell, and especially in development areas where the streets have been put in and nobody's buying lots, and the builders don't want them because of
Special.
we usually passed a thing that said the county councilor can negotiate any sale
Okay,
once it's been offered at the public sale.
okay.
So it's pretty easy to do.
Are there any properties like that right now, Chip?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the last one we did was down off of Wheat Ridge Drive, headed towards the golf course,
Okay.
and they filled up. Somebody came back in and offered a different price and took them, so.
Well, that's good to know that there's at least an avenue established for that.
Yeah.
Like Pittsburgh's land bank, I think I told you at the last meeting, but they put $1, every bid on the tax sale starts out with $1 from the Pittsburgh land bank. So they take anything and everything. So if nobody bids on it, it just automatically rolls over. And there's some developers who are now kind of savvy to it. So they let it roll over into the land bank, let the land bank kind of clean it up, and then they go purchase it from them at a pretty 75% of the appraised value. And it's a win-win for them. They get a clean lot or clean property.
And if the county or the land bank doesn't buy it, it still reverts to the owner.
Yes.
So it's going to show up next year again, and again, not going to, and it just keeps building, so.
Right.
It's,
Okay.
sometimes you're chasing your tail on those things, but they eventually sell.
And then finishing out legal, there was a question on D, should the land bank perform their own due diligence? And I think that kind of speaks into us doing our own due diligence by getting title report, which we do. We send everything off to legal. we run the gamut on that, and then whatever they come back with. And then when we get to that point of acquisition, yes, we will do a title report. Obviously, that's kind of standard with any kind of due diligence or closing on lots, so.
I think the recommendation there was more internally before we take the steps to purchase a property, that we've done our due diligence to ensure that we can.
Okay.
And you're already doing that.
Yes.
I think the recommendation was to formalize it, put it in here.
How do you want to roll on that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You already, so when you get a property, like for example, this one that you found,
Yep,
you
yep.
look on the county website, you sort of
Yes.
do some digging. I know you pay sometimes for some background checks and
Yep, we
stuff
got
like
it.
that.
Yep.
So it's part of our procedures. I'm okay with it not being on here.
Okay.
It's what we do. I
Okay.
mean, we have to before we present a property to purchase.
That's already built in before we get into
Yeah.
that.
Sorry, staff question here. Is that for that, because I was reading it a little differently, and I apologize to our commissioners here. I thought it was that the owner desiring to transfer the property to the land bank should have a proposal containing that, so that came from the owner wanting to donate and not from city side.
Yeah, they're making that up.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
Is that on D?
It's in two.
It's under 2. So it seems like 2 is it says
Owner donate, well, yeah, that's owner
desiring.
donation,
So that A through F are the requirements of the owner,
right,
not us.
okay.
So what happens in the instance where they're wanting to donate it, but maybe there's a financial hardship? Because the title report's going to cost you
Yeah.
$400.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if we put it in that it's mandated, you know, does that end up hurting us later? I mean, I understand why we want to
Yeah.
pull anything before we own it, but
How do we get the most flexibility? Like, let's say we tee it up with our due diligence and we say, yes, this is probably a good lot for us. So then that's when we would maybe push the title report. How do we?
if they're going to
Thinking out
give it
loud.
to us and, you know, we're going to spend $500
We shouldn't make it
to
prohibitive.
make it easier for them to donate it, because we're going to do that no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
This is dicey, because
It's up to you.
it's going to hurt people wanting to donate to us. But we had a sale out in western Harvey County because of due diligence and all that slipped by a few decades. They had to track down 78 relatives.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Okay. Should we let the title company handle that?
You know, that's money well spent. And another example is where the Verizon tower is in Walton, Kansas.
Yep.
They went back to 1930-something because the county had to sign off on it, that there was an error from the Santa Fe Railroad to the State Highway Commission and the property. And Verizon people found the error. And that slowed things down by 6 months to a year. But how often is it?
I almost want to leave it, and let's say we get to a point where that person expresses, hey, I have economic hardship, I want to donate this, but I can't afford that. But it's a property we see that we probably want. I think there's no harm in leaving it, and then you can always vote to deviate.
You could bring it to the commission.
You could
and
bring,
say,
right.
This time we'll pay for it, or we really
Right.
want it.
Thoughts? I think that's. Daniela, should we leave it?
Yeah, I think
It's up to, it's really up to you. There is just preference.
it's a case by case.
Yeah.
And if it's
Right.
been in a trust, surely it's been researched for the trust.
Okay, moving on then to. the
We're
next-
leaving then?
Yeah, we'll just leave it.
You're talking about item D.
Yes.
Is there a difference between a title opinion and a title report?
Not the same thing.
I don't know if there is or not.
I don't know if a title company can give you like a preliminary opinion or preliminary report that just says there's a mortgage, the taxes haven't been paid, and we're not really asking for the insurance that goes along with the information.
You can get preliminary title work done.
Yeah, so that's
maybe-
what I took.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not spending $600
So let's,
to ensure
What if we
that
put preliminary title?
Yeah,
work
let's-
in
you're
there?
gonna cure all your defects.
yeah, add preliminary in there, and I think it cures what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it may just be a one-word deal.
Okay, I'll include that.
But we might have to spend some money before we take the property on. If
Yeah.
it has, like Chip said, defects that are gonna be hard to cure.
Yeah, I don't think we should bring anything on board without title insurance actually paying for it, because then that puts that liability on the title company, not us.
Well, we could also split that fee with the owner, instead of saying we'll pay for it all.
Yeah.
Say we pay for a portion of it, not carry the entire burden.
But in this section, if they're giving it to us and we're gonna sell it, we're gonna come out ahead, no matter how it comes through,
Yeah.
I think.
Make it easier.
Anyway.
Yeah, we can sell it for we can put it for sale for $2,000 plus expenses. If it was $250 for the title work, $2,250,
Yep.
Yep.
Pass it along.
peanuts for the buyer.
Okay.
So we're going to get the title opinion and the title work. I guess the question is who provides it? It says, the owner desiring to transfer property shall prepare X. So that needs to be struck because they won't be providing that. We will be covering that.
No, we're just gonna convert it from a title report to a preliminary title report. That way it's less expensive and they don't have to pay for the insurance and everything. And then when we go to actually transfer it, we can work on that part.
Okay. But they still will have to provide something to us from a title company.
I think it's good
Okay.
for that.
I think they
I
need
just
to
wanna make
start
sure
that process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if they say, I'm
And-
not willing to do that, we can choose whether or not we wanna pay for that.
To waive that.
And-
Okay.
But if we add preliminary and it proceeds on through, they're going to go back to this and say, we're
Yeah.
not willing to pay for it, you have to.
Yeah.
So why add the wording if we're
Exactly.
going to deviate
Yep.
one way or the other?
Because we want people to look at giving us the property. And if,
So if they do the preliminary, they said, we've provided this, now we're not going to pay for one, and we're stuck paying for it.
Right, but if they're donating a lot, like the one that we're looking at here, we're gonna turn around and get $5,000 at minimum for that lot. So,
But if
We'll
they
make
were
up the
willing to pay
$500.
for it thinking they needed to, I'm just being devil's advocate.
No, yeah, no, that's a good
question.
that's
Trying
why
to
you're
save
here.
us money,
I'm not calling you the devil,
I-
but.
yeah,
but close.
In all the tax sales, 16 years, I think we only had 3, maybe 4 mess-ups that we had to go work back through. Because you have to file at a tax sale, you have to have the title search done. So I think really we're pretty safe.
Okay, so what's the will then? Put preliminary in there, and then case by case?
Yeah,
Does
I
that
think
go against the
preliminary
grain
is the
of-
key
I
word.
think that's good.
Okay,
Preliminary meaning a title opinion?
Preliminary title work.
The
You know,
third-party
we should
assessment
reach,
of the
Okay.
title.
we should reach out to our local title company and say,
For the
how would that
Verbiage, okay.
be for you guys?
okay, I can do that.
And because if there is no difference, then leave it, and do we want to, and I don't know if we want to do this, but do we want to add local title company? That way we're not getting something from somebody we can't walk in and see.
And I'd like to keep it local too.
I would too, because I see a lot of title work that comes through for local
Yeah.
properties, but it's processed out of another state.
Yeah.
So I'd like to add that if possible.
Okay.
Okay. That's a definite maybe.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Moving on up to the east side. Let's go.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, moving on to 3, second paragraph, there was recommendation to possibly strike, like, the Land Bank Board of Trustees may initiate to process to rezone, replat, or otherwise modify, design, and propose property. I'm all for leaving that language in, just because we should have that ability. I know there's some legislation coming up, or possibly legislation coming up that might hamper municipalities from being able to initiate zoning, but that's probably different for an actual land bank because we're not technically the city.
Where
That's
are
the-
you at,
Oh, I'm sorry, 3, the second paragraph.
Top of the page 8.
And, yeah, I believe.
You're looking at, who's at top of page 8? Are you looking at the highlighted one?
I was,
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
what's
I'm
the difference
saying-
between the one he's looking at and the one you provided?
The one was the highlighted version, which, it was the clean version from legal that if they struck something out, like it was just taken out. So I'm going to provide, the copy that I provided you left the language in. We can discuss whether that language should be struck out. I just wanted you to be able to see, like, so the difference is if you go to the second paragraph on 3, you'll see that it's struck out. Should be.
my copy doesn't have anything struck out, Zach.
Well, it's because it's just not there, so it's a
Okay.
clean copy. So they struck it out on the comment side of things, and the copy that got into the packet was, has that language removed. So then if you compare it to the one that I gave you, there's a whole nother clause that's set right after the word property on the second paragraph of 3. There was a clause that said the Land Bank Board of Trustees may initiate the process to rezone, replat, or otherwise modify the design and proposed use of any property of the land bank as deemed to be in the best interest of the land bank and the city of Newton, Kansas.
Okay.
And I'm for leaving that language in there as opposed to just striking it.
And
But that's again,
Remind me why they recommended striking it?
they
you
just
know.
struck it and gave no comment.
So it's legal
It's
You think?
legal.
to
Yeah.
do this.
Well,
I just wondered why they struck it.
Yeah.
and I can get clarification on why they struck it, but.
So they're not saying we're going to have the right to rezone something,
Right.
because we'd have to take it through them, but, so why?
And then following down on that, they also struck, like, including listing with a real estate broker or agent, like properties determined available for immediate marketing and potential sale shall be identified and advertised in the manner required by all applicable laws, including listing with a real estate broker or agent.
And they struck that too.
And they struck including listing with a real estate broker or agent, and
That's because we don't want to pay the fees.
possibly don't want to pay the fees, but we, at
It's
least.
what the commission has said in the past for the city, we don't want to pay the fees. That's was kind of our goal, some of our stuff in our strategic plan a while back.
Well,
That's the only reason I could see they could strike.
Well, yeah, the city, I can see the city striking it, but like the land bank, I mean, our job is to market the property, so I'd hate to hamper us not being able to list with an agent if they so desired, because if we get a lot of properties, it might be the will of this board that they want to list with a real estate agent. That way, they can put it on the MLS and everything else. I can't do that.
But by removing it, you don't necessarily have to not use a real estate agent.
Right. But that, I mean,
Yeah,
true.
leaving it in there doesn't mean we have to use a real estate agent.
Right,
Well, I mean,
leaving
I
it in
think-
there,
I think leaving it in there says that we have to, but taking it off doesn't mean
We don't,
can't.
gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? So we can take it off, and then if we feel like we can't sell it, then we can
It doesn't
have an
say we
agent.
can't.
Right.
so strike it.
I would, my suggestion is strike it,
Okay.
but we can still have.
And
it.
I think that's taken care of in marketing of the,
Listed.
That's how I see it.
I think that's taken care of in 4. But, okay, go ahead.
The city has remind me, do we have a land bank page on our website where we could direct people and that
On-
could be sort of our marketing of our land bank?
We do have it on Choose Newton. It's on the Choose Newton. It has the property, 324 East 11th is on there with a picture.
Yeah.
As we ramp up our efforts, I would like to see that more robust.
Yeah.
And then possibly almost like a Zillow type
Our own
format,
Zillow.
but we're not there yet. And then if we have multiple properties, it might behoove us to go under contract with an agent to list it and.
It might be that we have a marketing section that you're just saying it twice.
Right, and I think that very well could be.
That could be why they struck it. It was in there twice.
And then they also struck the Land Bank Board of Trustees reserves the right to accept or reject properties and may set a minimum price on commercial, industrial zone property and/or those containing structures. And then the Land Bank reserves I would like to keep those in there. I think we should keep those in there, just,
If we keep those in there, how are we going to reconcile that with the accepting of all final properties from the tax sale? Because that's where the conflict would be. So if all property acquired from the Board of County Commissioners after the property did not sell at county tax foreclosure sale should be accepted by the land bank in its current condition.
So why don't we go back and strike that and go to your Pittsburgh idea of putting $1 on anything that comes up and,
but then you're bound to that. There might be a property that we don't want to accept, and we're not in a position where, like, I've been using the word where beggars are not choosers, but we kind of need to be.
Yeah.
We don't have the budget that Pittsburgh had, where they started out with $100,000, so they could take any property, no matter what the issue was with the property. They had enough money to maintain or demo whatever they needed to do to it, and we
Right.
just don't have that ability. So I would
Leave
be
it in.
remiss if we wanted to get all the properties. This was just if there's property left over at the end of the sale, we would then have an option to go for those properties. And so going back to you, Rebecca, where's the, so setting the minimum price, that's us setting the minimum price is the 75% as, of the appraised property. I think we should be able to set the minimum price. Do we want to keep the minimum language in there?
It says may.
Not shall?
Or will, or.
I guess if it says may, I would leave it in there. Gives us the option to or not to.
All right. Everybody good? Going on to 4. Nothing new there. And then going on to 5. Qualifications for applicants to purchase land bank property. The comment was, and it should be highlighted, that no applicant to purchase any property from the land bank shall be delinquent on any licenses or taxes in Harvey County. The will of this group at our last meeting was to make that a little more and do our neighboring counties, whether we would look up like Butler, Reno, and Sedgwick. But the question was posed from legal as to whether that should be in there. Whether notices are problematic, but it's not a conviction. I think I know where they're going, but this is we don't want to, if they're already in tax trouble, we don't want to like sell them a lot that they might turn around and do the same behavior. So it's easy just to go ahead and fact check that on the due diligence side. Most of the most counties have GIS now to where we can go in and go on the map and then access the tax portals and check things out to see if they're delinquent. Leave it in or take it out.
I like it.
Okay. Going on to 6, requirements of purchasers of land bank property. The comment was to possibly make them guidelines or just go case by case. Do we want to make these guidelines or just go case by case? I think we make them guidelines, but that, again,
As long as we have the ability to adjust. I know, I'll use Habitat as an example. If we were today receiving this property and putting a bid in and buying it, it's going to be almost 2 years before we build that house or that house is done. So it's nice to have a little bit of flexibility
okay.
on that.
In the first paragraph of 7 on the draft, the clean copy is striked, correct? Is to be striked?
7, on the clean copy?
The clean copy, the Land Bank Board of Trustees just set a minimum
I-
list price.
I don't want to strike it,
Okay.
but it was recommended that we possibly strike that with the comment, why set a minimum price if it can be waived? Well, I think we still need to set the minimums. Even if you can waive it, you should have that flexibility.
Got it. So
So I'm recommending you just keep it as is on 7.
Can we go back to 5 real quick? Because
Sure.
on 1, it's highlighted, and on the other one, it's not, but the verbiage is still there on that second paragraph. So was that meant to be removed, or just to remind us that it's there?
It was just a comment, I believe, but let me go back.
Okay. No applicant shall have a history of code enforcement violations on properties they own. Shall applicant have any outstanding violations, a history of 3 notices for code violations. So, just for clarification purposes, if I own investment properties and I get these letters that I've never gotten before about trimming tree limbs and things of that nature, if I have some of those and I want to bid on one of these lots, I can't because I have a violation?
Right, and I think maybe that's where this whole notices are problematic. It's not a conviction. I think it was highlighted on the wrong paragraph because I didn't see the reason why we should eliminate the no applicant to purchase any property from the land bank shall be delinquent on any licenses or taxes. But I agree with you on the second paragraph. I
Right.
think you're right. I think that's where that belonged.
I think last meeting, we were talking about just trying to avoid turning another property over to a slumlord that's going to,
Yeah.
you know,
Correct.
I think that's the only thing
Absolutely.
we were trying to get away from.
I just know that even those of us that try to
Well,
stay clean, I get notices because I'm not.
I got one today.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't want to hurt those of us that are really trying but get notices.
Yep.
I changed it because I have the note from our last meeting was to relax or soften the language on this.
Right.
I almost say we could strike that second paragraph and keep the first the first clause and strike the second clause under 5. No applicant shall have a history of code enforcement violations. I don't want to get into the weeds, no pun intended, on
That could be
enforcement,
procedure.
right.
It's your procedure, you look for something like that.
What do you mean?
It could be a procedure.
Oh,
but you're-
yeah, for
you're-
sure.
you're-
Yeah. But I, to put it in,
So just take it out and do it yourself.
strike it.
Do you guys agree?
I'm good
Okay,
with that.
perfect.
And just for the clarity on number 6, if we're going to move those to guidelines, are we going to continue to keep the language in this? Because I think if we were to keep it in this document, we'd need to relabel it as guidelines and not requirements.
Most definitely. Yeah, by the way, we will not be voting on accepting the policy today. There's some more work that needs to be done to it, and we'll come back to you the next meeting for hopefully a clean version ready to go for adoption. Okay, so going back to 7 then, keep that or strike it, or that was
And are we talking about 7 in its entirety?
7 in its entirety, and why set a minimum when it can be waived? But I think we need to set a minimum to begin with. I mean, we do with the 75%, and we can have that language in there for the 75% above appraised value. But yes, you should, I think you should have that, set the minimum, but still have the option to waive it because everything's going to be a case by case.
Right. If we set the
Right.
minimum at 75% and that make it mandatory, is there any scenario where that would turn around and bite us in the butt?
The habitat ones.
What do you mean the habitat?
So if
you set it at 75 and let's say Habitat doesn't have the money in the budget because things are really getting tight with the cost of building and everything,
Right.
you know, and it throws us out of where we could, you know, build a house that
Right.
year.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is there any way we can, or does it make sense to say 75% to, or maybe leave it where it's flexible for a nonprofit? Can we add, would that work, Brian? Would that make sense?
Yeah, oh, definitely. But it's on that top of that line, it says shall set a minimum list price. So we're just talking about what we're listing it
Right.
for on the website.
Correct.
It doesn't really, I don't think it really makes it so we have to get that on the sale. It just,
Got it.
And the
when we
last-
advertise to the public.
And the
Okay.
last sentence in that first paragraph on 7 is the Land Bank Board of Trustees has discretion to accept less than the minimum price to transfer title of the property. So you can,
Yep.
Perfect.
you can go against that if you need to,
Okay. I
or
just
if
didn't
you
read all the way down.
desire.
I was thinking about that.
I'd like to go back to position 2, types of acquisition. You know, somebody could come in wanting to donate stuff. If, you know, there's spots in this community that are under federal and state monitoring for hazmat, underground hazmat. We don't want no part of that. And that's not, the only thing in there is maintenance.
On 2, under what, which one?
Under 2, owner donation,
Okay,
we need to put in there anything that's under federal or state
okay.
hazmat. We may want to do it case by case, but we need to mention that. We're not blatantly going to accept some site that's got problems.
Chip, aren't normally federal or state mandated watching of properties on title opinions? Would anybody in here know that?
It's probably KDHE will know.
Only, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
who's what, you know. Salina's got their big problem right now. And
Okay.
I know we got the train station thing here, but it's just like where the
Well-
8th and Main, there's an inspection well underneath, over by that big pine tree across the street on the county property that they come dip every now and then because of the old gas station.
Yeah,
corner.
I have 3 of those on the bank property,
Yeah.
so.
So we need to have some mention that, yeah, maybe we can waive it. It's under management and we can waive it, but we just don't want somebody walking in and said, here's the title of my property. Now you got
And we
a
inherit all the liability.
$200,000 fix to do.
Okay,
But you also don't want to have to force an environmental study because that's $10,000
Yeah.
a pop,
Yep.
so.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll come back with some language on that.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. All right, going back to the last one at 7, if we're still okay with that language, then look for a completely clean draft for you guys to review at the,
My only concern with setting a minimum, what if our minimum is less than what someone else would consider a minimum? See what I'm saying? What if someone would be willing to pay more and we're setting that minimum too low?
well, just for the standard practice, because our idea is, you know, to roll those properties back over to property, or to the private sector. And so we're just going off of best practices from other land banks, and a lot of them have that 75% of the appraised value. And sure, could we maybe,
Yeah, but if you
Capture-
use appraised value, if you use that term, we're not actually paying for an appraisal.
oh,
What if
not the
we were to
appraised, I
switch that
apologize,
to
the
tax assessed?
the assessment, not the appraised,
Yeah.
apologies, wrong word there. The assessment is what 75% of the county assessment is what we're going off of.
which is supposed to be set at what, 90% of true appraised value?
What do you got?
This says, shall be the current value established by Harvey County, the basis of the minimum price.
Yeah,
Then
by
what
the
does
Harvey
it say,
County
75?
Appraiser's Office, the value establishes for a different price set by the land bank.
This just says, you can put that as a minimum price.
We should have the 75% in there.
Is it somewhere else? I don't see it.
It's not. I've got notes. I think
Okay.
I may have forgotten to add it, sorry. But I have notes on that, but yeah, 75% is what we,
Uh-oh.
are you translating? I've been doing that lately.
She puts the Google Translate button.
I've been doing that too, and I'll be talking to somebody and all of a sudden Spanish will start kicking off and I was like, oh, wait.
I want
you know
Mexican
what
food
German-
now.
And now I'm hungry.
Where's the chips and salsa?
Everybody will meet at Carlos. Let's go.
All right.
On that comment, Alex, I think that probably anytime that a property belongs to the city or to the land bank, most of the time they're gonna try to lowball. They're not gonna go in at high bid, I think.
Yeah, unless there's multiple people interested in the property.
Then we want them to battle each other.
So we're comfortable with that language then, just adding that 75% threshold? Are we good? Okay.
All right, is that everything on that document?
Yep.
Am I missing anything before
Nope.
adjourning?
Unless,
I have something.
Yes.
I know we talked about this lightly, but I didn't know if this group wanted to meet before the tax sale. So in my experience, which is limited, you obtain properties through direct donation. So Zach going out saying, hey, we have a land bank, come donate, or through tax sale. And there is a tax sale scheduled for November 29th. I don't know what the properties look like. I don't even know if they're eligible to be part of this land bank, but it's an opportunity to just look and see, is this a house or a property or a piece of land that we want to take on? I know that's a couple months from now, and maybe those taxes are paid off and there's no tax sale, but perhaps scheduling something shortly before, maybe a day or two, and maybe bringing those up and analyzing those might be an idea worth, I don't know, I'm just putting that out there, because tax sales are a main conduit vehicle for land banks.
One problem is we don't have budget authority to spend any money this year. 'Cause-
But we could if we amended a budget.
No, we'd have to come up with a whole budget. They didn't do a budget for '24.
Oh, we didn't publish anything?
Land bank didn't do
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Is there any way around that? So we just forego purchasing anything this year?
Well, I don't know.
Just a,
See, the city, I don't know if the city could buy it or not. I don't know. That kind of gets.
yeah, that would be a little, yeah,
Funky.
hairy. I'm sorry, I thought we had some, we have money, we just don't have authority.
We don't have authority this
Got it.
year.
Okay, who in our policy has the authority to make the purchase at the tax sale?
That,
in this policy right here, there's you can elect someone to
Okay,
go.
yeah.
You can elect a,
on the land bank's behalf.
You
yes.
should know, you'll know by noon before the tax sale, noon the day before, anybody can come in and pay the taxes off by noon the day before,
Day before.
calendar date of the tax sale. So you're gonna know for sure that that one property's gonna be there or not. You can call the county and they'll know.
It doesn't leave a big window for us to meet though, so, right before.
Would it make sense for us to receive an email a week before with the addresses, and then at our leisure, we could kind of,
There'll be legal publications in the paper so we can just get them out. They'll start 60 days out, probably
And
doing.
we do all the due diligence side of the house, meet on them,
Yeah.
and then, and if they're there, go for it. Like I could go there on the land bank's behalf to.
Could we first ask Donna to see if there's even an ability to do, sorry, I got ahead of myself, because we may not have the legal authority to purchase a property,
And
since we don't have budget.
And that's for this year.
Right,
I
that's for
understand
this year.
But but this is establishing the policy moving forward, so.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
We'll be fine
pretend
after
like we have money and we have budget authority. That's where I think moving forward, I think that's the play then, to
The
meet.
people will they'll get a final notice from the county, so to speak, by mail, and then those that don't come in and redeem in 30 days, the county counselor, I think it's 30 days out, the county, and they have to redeem it. After 30 days, the county counselor files the legal document in court, and from that point on, any expense by the county plus the tax value owed is the payoff fee. Well, that can get, depending on the title search on every property, that can be different. So very seldom does somebody come in after the 30-day warn letter and says, you got to pay by this date or it's going up. So we should have a pretty locked down list of what's going to happen.
Okay.
I think that redemption period's 90 days, isn't it?
Could be. Redemption period is 90 days. Yeah, the redemption period is 90 days up to noon the day before the sale. But 30 days before the sale, any expense encountered when they file the legal document in court to do it, then you're going to pay those fees and the tax fee.
Right.
And we can look at if there's any way of doing something.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Donna.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll move to adjourn today's meeting.
Thank you.